Shall we begin?
Welcome to the Savage Monster Cast. I'm your host, Scott Marchand Davis of Happy Monster Press.
Let's begin now.
On this week's Happy Monster podcast, the team of Alpha 1-2 encounters some strange creatures that have come through a rift.
My name is Brendan. I will be playing Leviticus Overton, a quick flex glitter boy.
Hi, my name is Frankie. I'm playing Kuva, a Simvin Burster.
Hi, my name is Jong Soo, and I will be playing an elf cyber knight named Mingbi.
Hi, my name is Frank, and I'm playing Click, a Troubadour Techno Wizard.
Hi everyone, I'm Bob, and I'm playing Quinlan, who's an elven leyline walker.
Hi, my name is Steve, and I'm playing Lance, the human juicer.
Previously on the Happy Monster Cast. Pretty much all of you detect some movement in the brush ahead. It appears to be a fairly small target. And as you close in, you see what looks like a small robot running at full speed. The robot looks up, sees you in the sky, and starts yelling, "Help! Help!" The robot kind of pulls up short, seeing the glitter boy, and says, "Wow, what kind of robot are you?"
I interject immediately. What's chasing you?
I don't know what they are, but they're really big and they're really mean, and I think they got my friends. You see the first enemies appear, and there are two of them, and they are big. So you recognize these guys. They are demonics. And demonics were low-level demons who were summoned to Tolkien and then jacked up with Techno Wizard Bionics.
Oh boy.
And rolling up behind them is another Demonics.
Oh boy.
But a different breed this time. This one is known as a hangdog Demonics, and it's even bigger. On its back is a sort of howdah-like arrangement, armored with a pair of heavy cannons facing forward and a tail gunner seat, and there are three guys riding on it. You fire the thing, and it explodes directly underneath this thing. It goes down. I would like you all to make fear checks because they are really freaky.
I am losing it tonight.
You just lose it, and you are shaken, and you run at full speed away from these guys.
Just wait until I get my vibro sword on top of this.
I'm going to be shooting at the boom gun over at this guy.
Okay, fire away. That will hit with a raise.
Nice!
All right, so you're now looking at three separate piles of exploded remains. So I guess they still have my friends, which is not great, but I know if I can find Rob one, he'll be able to help us out. Click's already forged through them, and he comes back to the group. He says, I found a message says, capture the runaways and be on the alert for any information about the seal. You produce like a cracker or a wafer from your rations. He's like, great. And he pops it into one of the slots on his chest.
Uh-huh.
And there's a brief pause and a glow, and then it pops back out nicely browned.
And it's a toaster.
This is not where something weird happened, because 1 minute I was with my friends and we were on the road and we thought we kind of knew where we were going, and the next minute we're in the middle of this forest and then all these guys come after us. And it's just something weird happened. As you roll up, a couple of the locals come out with laser rifles. We had some of those feds come over last year riding some sort of big old demon, and that was bad. We had to pretty much give them what they wanted because we're not in any position to handle something like that. Your head turns to the southwest because you have sensed that a new rift is opening.
So I look at everyone and there's a rift over there.
So you guys had arrived at Bobstown, having rescued the toaster bot Hamilton.
Right.
Still not really clear on where he came from, but he's sticking with you guys because he's very concerned about this whole Federation of Magic business. And the folks in Bobstown are kind of concerned about it too. They've been seeing an increasing level of encroachment by Federation forces into the general area. So there's a fairly modest level of freak out happening here. And the end result is that they're concerned, but they don't have any immediate problems. And it's about at this point that Bob picks up a rift opening nearby. So he knows exactly where it is. It's about 5-6 miles away over some hills. And you get to decide now what you're going to do about it.
Bob, can you tell anything about what is coming through, or can you just tell that it's a rift?
As far as I know, I just sort of know where it is and get a vibe that it's there, I think.
Yes, all you know is that there's a rift there. The only other thing that you know, because it's pretty much always true, is that where there is a rift, there is also one or more ley lines, which is good news for you.
I have a question, just from our knowledge of the world and whatnot. As far as rifts go, how common is this of an occurrence?
It's not incredibly unusual. They open and close on a fairly regular basis. It's kind of long odds that you would run into one, but not incredibly long odds. It happens.
Okay.
So like Blue Moon level.
Yeah.
All right, so it's not necessarily like maybe a Oblivion type of situation where this is necessarily something we have to worry about or arm ourselves, but it could be.
Well, you don't know. It could be anything from a rift that just connects up 2 points on Earth, which, depending on which points they are, that could be either completely boring or really exciting.
Okay.
But at the other end of the spectrum, you could have a bunch of kaiju scale monsters coming through a la Pacific Rim. So,
holy crap.
Okay.
Yeah, you just don't know what's going to come through a rift.
Do Pacific Rim type creatures exist in this world?
Oh yeah, they're not real common, and somebody usually comes along and puts them down. But pretty much anything you can possibly imagine can come through a rift. For all you know, Doctor Strange got the portals wrong, and there's a bunch of guys from Wakanda pouring through.
Has anyone in the party actually had experience in being around a rift opening before?
I'm going to say that Bob has encountered an open rift before, but not been there for one opening.
Okay. All right. So this is a new experience, mostly for. Okay. All right. I'm just going to ready myself. Get my weapon out and just be prepared for anything.
But how far away is it? Is it something that we need to go towards if we're going to experience it, or is it something that's near enough that we'll see it?
As I said, it's 5 or 6 miles away over some hills.
So that's
you're definitely not going to see it unless it's Pacific Rim scale monsters. Then you'd probably see them pretty quick.
Right.
But, if it's a small army of coalition Skelelots or...
I'll suggest to get on my Griffin and go check it out from the distance.
Do a little recon?
Yeah. If anyone else wants to do the same, we can do that from a safe distance just to see what the rift is all about.
Yeah, the Griffin can carry 2 if you want somebody else to mount up with you. Or 3 if one of them's Hamilton.
Does anyone else want to come? Does anyone want to take the buggy? We still have the buggy too. We could get a better vantage point, see what we have coming at us.
We might all want to go see.
Lance volunteers for a ride along.
Okay.
He says, just don't set me on fire while we're in the air.
Picky. Jeez.
All right.
Seems like a legitimate concern.
No promises, I say.
True. Are there ever times when the rift opening just feels like a mild fissure or sort of like just groundbreaking and like you feel an energy, but like otherwise it's nothing else?
Make a notice roll.
Okay.
Yeah. Who should make the notice roll?
Quinlan, because he's the one who can sense rifts.
Oh, right.
I'll Benny that.
That's not great. Ooh, that's much better.
There we go.
Okay, so that will be a total of 10. Your sense is that the rift is relatively small.
All right, I convey that to everyone else. Guys, I don't think this is going to be a huge one, but, be cautious as always. I don't think there's a big threat. There could be.
Okay. Yeah, I'll still be cautious nonetheless.
Okay, so you and Lance Lance and Griff get to make notice rolls as you're flying towards this rift. The rift itself is obvious. It's a roughly circular portal coruscating with blue energy, lightning crackling out from it in all directions, and setting a couple of small brush fires in the local grasses.
Ooh, it sounds like Gozer's coming.
Am I encumbered by my pack as well, or am I unequipped as that?
No, that's just what you rolled.
Okay. Okay, can I make one for Griff as well?
You absolutely can make one for Griff. So none of you really notice anything on the ground. If anything has come through the rift, you can't see it.
So are you guys going to land, or what are you doing?
We'll
flying around?
We're going to communicate that there's nothing so far. Is the rift still open?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to circle around with Griff and just take another look to see if we see anything. Maybe the tree lines look like the area is disturbed at all since the rift. Can I see any tracks?
If anything large, nothing large came out of it as near as you can tell, unless it was incorporeal. There's not enough damage for anything like an APC or a car or anything like that to have come through, or for that matter, something like a dragon.
Get any like mysticism, like any sort of like energy sense, anything like that?
No, you do not.
Do I have any onboard sensors, Scott? Do I have any kind of like onboard sensing arrays in my armor that would be of value here?
5 mile, not at 5 mile range with hills in the way.
Okay.
That's definitely not going to work for radar or anything, or any kind of visual or thermal sensors.
So those guys are a few miles away at this point.
Yeah, they're about 4 or 5 miles away, circling around where the rift is.
I will just communicate that, and then I'll just go through the tree line with Griff and see if we can see anything. Look for further tracks or evidence of anything coming out of the rift, and we'll pay attention to the rift while this is happening.
Okay, so you guys are circling airborne still around the rift?
Yeah. A little bit closer to the tree line, though, so I can get a look at both. Maybe if something's in the trees or if something comes out of the rift, I'll pay attention to that.
Yep, not picking up anything so far.
I will start running toward the rift. And I don't know I forget what my top speed is here, but I should be able to close within much closer range within a few minutes.
Gotcha. Yeah, it'll take a bit, but you can get there fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm running at, let's say, 20 miles an hour, then I should be able to be there in 15 minutes about.
What's my endurance for running?
You run at your pace essentially indefinitely.
Okay.
But you also have a nifty vehicle that can travel faster than any of you can on foot, except for Leviticus.
Right. In my armor, I'm too big to be on the vehicle, though, aren't I?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's go see. I've never seen a rift before.
All right.
So the vehicle outpaces me, and just stay in radio contact if anything happens. I'll try to run faster, I suppose.
Okay. Is the vehicle going to outpace you? You're driving, Frank. What's your call?
Why don't we keep pace right now?
You're so nice.
All right. So you are you're running along, and what are you doing while they're closing range, Kuva?
I'm still gonna just check the perimeter, make sure nothing's happening. Be aware of like disturbances in the rift. Be at the ready with my flames, ready a fireball.
Okay. All right. So the vehicle comes rolling up, and I would like all the people on the ground now to make notice checks.
Okay. Not really my thing.
That's not bad. Nice.
I think I see something.
There you go.
If there's something to see, you definitely see it.
Okay.
So, and Click gets a bonus. You actually get a bonus from the sensors on your vehicle as well. So all of you on the ground, I guess with a lower angle than the folks that were airborne, you are picking up one way or another that there are armored entities in the brush up ahead near the rift.
Entities. Can we tell if they're robots or armored people?
The best you get, and this is mostly Click because he's using the sensors on the vehicle, is that they are roughly human-sized, give or take.
Okay.
And there appear to be about a dozen of them.
How far away are we right now?
You are at about 200 yards at this point from where you think they are, and about 250 yards from the rift.
Would the vehicle sensors be better than my magic goggles?
Probably not, depending on what you're looking for. They're certainly not better at detecting magic than your magic goggles are.
Magic goggles. Nice.
Well, I'm going to slide those down and see if there's anything arcane coming out of this as well as armor.
Okay. All right, so you do need to invest that with some of your PowerPoints and make an Arcana roll, or make a weird science roll in your case.
Weird science.
That was a terrible movie.
It doesn't hold up.
Right now, you only get radar returns, so you definitely aren't getting any identifying mark. You activate your Detect Arcana.
Swing.
And as you do so, you see Kuva in the air, and that is it.
I'm the only thing magic here.
So I get on the radio and attention airborne. Yeah. We've got bogeys in the brushes. They look to be armored, but they don't look like they've got any fizzy mystical stuff going on.
Okay. Great.
Am I close enough now for a more detailed radar and LiDAR probe?
You can close the range.
Immediately land near the edge of the brush. So
you're going to land near the... and how are you presenting yourself when you land? Are you landing armed? Are you landing on fire?
Yeah, I have my fireball still ready, but I'm not armed.
Okay.
My weapon's
So your hand is on fire, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say Lance, being Lance, probably has his gun out.
We'll just sit for the time being and just see what we can see. I'm not going to advance or attack or do anything. I'll kind of reach my arm back to Lance to not do the same.
Okay. As you land, a bolt of reddish orange energy blasts out from the brush, goes wide of you guys, hits a tree, and basically explodes the tree.
Yeah, definitely unfriendly. What the heck?
Make a notice roll, please.
Okay.
Do you notice the tree exploding?
Right.
Well, this time I don't see anything. Whoa!
Is that a dress for everybody?
I noticed everything this time.
Okay. Kuva, you think that was you're not sure, but you think it might have been an intentional miss.
Okay. All right. I extinguished my my flame on my hand, and again I yield my hand back to Lance to not do anything, and I kind of wave him down, and I just kind of hold my position.
Okay.
I say, we're not here to fight. We're not here to hurt you.
What are you doing as far as gesturing goes?
I'm down. I'm low to the ground. My hands are by my side.
Okay.
I'm off of Griff at this point.
So there's a very long pause, and you see about a 2.5 meter tall pair of heavily armored guys with enormous guns and chain swords at their sides come very cautiously out of the brush with their blasters trained on you. And then they speak, and you have no clue what they're saying.
Okay. Can I read their demeanor or in their tone,
well, they're wearing full armor with enclosed helmets. So no, you can't. You don't even know what race they are or what species.
Okay.
What you hear is
I'm just going to continue with my arms down by my side and not do anything to provoke them.
Okay. So they very, very cautiously approach, and you and Lance. Lance, you notice, has fired up his juice.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try to restrain him if I can.
He hasn't done anything. He's just juiced up.
Okay. I'm gonna just cautiously say, wait, hold for the time being. Let's see what happens. All
right. So they approach, and they kind of they kind of poke you, and they poke Griff with their blaster cannons, and they poke Lance a bit, and then one of them says, and then they kind of back off very slowly, and 8 more of these guys emerge from the tree line. You notice that 4 of them were actually up in a tree and are descending it as though they're stuck to it.
Like walking down a tree kind of thing?
Like one of the wall walkers?
Yes. And so 3 of them all are standing about 4 meters away from you guys with their guns trained on you. And the other 6 are fan out in 2 groups of 3 basically forming a little triangle pointing in all directions on either side of you in case presumably you came with friends. And there's another very long pause. What are the rest of you doing while all of this is happening? You can see the movement on your radar, and Click, you can see that you coordinate your radar and your goggles, and you can see that these guys have now surrounded your friends.
Can I hear that? Can we hear them over the audio in the car?
You could certainly radio them.
How far away are we from this point of action?
You are at this point about 150 yards away, downhill. So you go uphill to these guys.
Has anybody told us to stop driving towards them?
Not unless your commanding corporal has.
Nope.
Then we're still driving on.
Yeah, we are.
We're closing at whatever we're at, 20 miles an hour. I guess with seeing our friends surrounded by all these potentially hostiles, we might want to slow our pace a bit once we crest over the hill, so that we don't look too threatening. We don't want to start too much trouble.
Aggressive?
Can I see that they are attempting to communicate?
You cannot see that they are attempting to communicate.
Are we close enough that we're seeing gestures and?
No, there's still cover between you and them.
Okay, so we couldn't watch the way that they were kind of poking at our friends. Like, I don't know if they were doing it aggressively. Did I see them poking or not?
It didn't seem aggressive.
Okay, so it wasn't in an aggressive way. They're just kind of checking out.
Yeah, so are you communicating this?
Yeah, I would be. I'd be quietly, if I have a way to do that, and quietly communicating it back to them. That
you've got a radio.
So far it's not aggressive. They're just they seem to be observing what they might think is so far a threat. I don't know what they want, but they are heavily armored. I'd be warning them everything that I know so far. Is there anything else I can notice about them since they're in my direct vicinity and within breathing space, Scott, that might be of interest to relay to them?
Not at the moment, but as you finish relaying the information, 2 more of these guys come out.
Okay. Can I put some sort of audio, like if I'm talking back to them, can I hold the walkie on so that they can hear the conversation as well?
Yeah, you can lock the mic on.
Okay, so I'll hold it on in case one of the party members can understand whatever language they're speaking in.
Do we have any tech that would? I guess I should ask. Does anybody understand this language they're speaking? Because if not, my next question was going to be: is there anything that? Do we have any tech on board that'll help us to translate this?
Yeah.
Who's sitting in the passenger seat?
Tech, no.
Who's sitting next to me in the buggy?
Magic, on the other hand. You might want to check your power list, Quinlan.
Yep, I'm going through it.
Please do. Quickly. We're closing fast.
Yep.
Oh, Havoc. Lightning. So I assume because I'm in a rift, I can just draw this power like crazy and go Nova if I want, right?
You have far more power points than normal. Let's put it that way. So not really the power I had in mind, though.
Like a translating.
I'm getting a translation
power. Yeah, we need a translating power.
Psychic communication, anything like that.
So
Mind Link?
Mind Link's worth a try. But you need a target for that, and you need to be outside the vehicle. I'll keep that roll for when you do, though. So as you're back to Kuva and Lance, 2 more of these guys come out.
Come out of the brush or out of the rift?
Out of the brush. And these guys are in much lighter armor. They're carrying pistols and chain swords, and they come up to you, and they sort of, seeing how you're standing, one of them moves up, and he stands pretty much exactly the same way.
Okay. All right. I'll introduce myself and say, I am Kuva, put my hand on my chest, and then put it out to shake in a below the waist type of way.
They kind of recoil a little bit when you put your hand out, and a couple of the guys raise their guns like they're, you're making them nervous.
Okay.
And then the lead guy in the light armor kind of waves them off, and he points with what appears to be a hand with 3 fingers and 2 thumbs, one on either side. He points with the 3 fingers at you and says, Kuva. And then he points at Lance and says, Kuva. And then he and then he points.
Congratulations, you're all Kuva.
And then he points to himself and he says, "Sakak."
Sakak. Okay.
I say perhaps Sakak is the name of their species. I nod and I pat Lance on the shoulder. I say, yes, Kuva. And I
All right.
go out for another handshake and see who does that. Kind of
so he
my
very
hand
tentatively reaches out his armored hand to shake yours. And then there's a big commotion because the glitter boy and the vehicle roll over the hill. And all of these guys have turned to face it, and two of them fire off shots that are pretty clearly intended to miss, but go blasting one past Leviticus and the other past the ATV. And then they hold up their hands. The leader guy holds up his hands as though to tell you to stop.
To tell us to stop?
Yeah, as though he wants you to stop.
Yeah.
We come to a stop.
I think that's
I hit the
fine.
brakes.
Okay, so at this point, Quinlan, you could try dismounting and mind linking.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to see, I assume Mind Link, obviously works against these guys and, trying to tap into their psyches and sort of get a gist of what's going on.
Well, I'm sure they won't think that that's, aggressive.
Well, you just never know.
I have to set that intent that, look, I know we don't speak the same language. This is who we are. This is what we're up to. How are you? I'm just trying to be chill about it and let them know that.
Welcome to Riftland.
Yep. Okay. So you get no connection, but that's probably, you think, because MindLink requires a willing subject, and they probably just don't know what you're trying to do at all. That's the sense you get.
Okay. So I convey that to everyone.
And the lead guy points at Quinlan, and then at the three of you, or at Kuva and at Lance, and says, "Kuva," and then turns his palms face up towards you.
Yeah, we'll keep it the non-threatening position where we kind of I keep my hands low and I tap Lance as well, and we do the same thing. Kuva, and I point to the team. I say, Kuva.
What the hell is he talking about?
I whisper. I say, I think I might have convinced him that our races are named Kuva.
So he sort of gestures around the area, and he reaches down and touches and pulls up some dirt and then pours it down. And then he holds his palms out face up towards you again.
He's asking, what's this place called?
Yeah, that's what I would guess.
Yeah. What's the proper response here?
What is the name? What is the name of
that's Earth?
Bobstown?
Bobstown. Yeah,
we're just near Bobstown, guys.
I spread my arms wide, kind of indicate, slowly, non-threateningly, kind of gesture the entire horizon, Earth. Point to the ground.
Okay, so you're doing this over the PA system, I assume, so they can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're pretty startled by this as this suddenly booming voice coming out.
Yeah, and so I bend down and I pick up a little dirt and I run it through my fingers and let it out. Earth.
And he points back to the rift and he says, Carasto.
Okay. So I point to him and I say the name of their race, Sasakthok, whatever it was. And then Sakak. And then at the rift and say, Carasto. Kuva, Earth. Welcome to Earth.
So the guy kind of gestures at his troops, and they lower their weapons partway, and he sort of looks around and really seems to think for a minute.
That's a good thing to do.
Yep, and then he says, he gestures at all of them, and he says, Sakak. And then he points at himself, and then he says, Sakakre.
Sakakre.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and then he sort of gestures at you and says, Kuvare, and holds out at Kuva and holds his hands out.
Look confused at the gesture, scratch my head. And then I raise my arms in a shirking motion, shrug my shoulders.
Have any of us heard of Sakak?
No. Don't even have to make a common
Well,
knowledge roll on that. None of you have ever heard of this.
Okay.
So he's got the palms out gesture going again, which you think you figured out means that he's asking you a question.
Yeah.
I would look
I
visibly
think he's
confused.
asking what your name is. I think he's asking what your name is. Like, okay,
Why don't
they're
we all
Kuva,
introduce ourselves?
or so they're all Shakak. His name is and like his particular name is Shakak Ray. So we need to
Either
clear
that or
up this
that's
whole
his,
Kuva
like,
thing.
I mean, unless that's a rank, right? If all of them are soldiers, like Shakak, and he's the leader, and he's Shakakre, right?
Maybe.
Well, I mean, this is the problem. I mean, if you introduce yourself, you say, "Who are you?" Well, I'm Kuva, or I'm an explorer, or I'm a human. And any one of those words, if you don't know what they mean, are
Well,
pretty confusing.
I'm going to assume that they're going to use whatever word we refer to ourselves as, and if we make it different than Kuva,
So are you going to go
they'll try to
around and
figure it out, but-
introduce yourselves?
I'm going to step forward. Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah, I
introduce
think we
myself.
should. I think we should distinguish
those of you
that
in the
Kuva's a
vehicle,
singular.
are you dismounting to do this?
Yeah, seems rude to be shouting
Yeah.
from inside an ATV.
So we kind of walk up a little bit closer, so we don't have to shout or boom over
Yep.
the PA system.
Yeah. Are you getting out of your armor, or are you staying in?
I am staying in my armor. I think
Okay.
that'd be a little too confusing.
Okay. So you all approach, and you all rattle off your names. Are you attaching Kuva to any of them?
I am not. I'm just
Okay,
saying
No.
Leviticus. I
Okay.
touch my chest.
So Kuva, how are you introducing yourself?
I'll start with Kuva, just so maybe we could clear up the understanding on the meaning of the word. I'll pat my chest and say Kuva, and then move on with Lance from that point.
Okay. So he puzzles over this for a second, and then he says, he gestures at the whole group of these guys and says, Sakak. And he gestures at himself and he says,
Yeah.
He gestures at himself and he says, Sakak Re Shovesh. And then he gestures at the guy the other guy in the light armor, and he says, Sasak Redo Karaf.
I better start writing some of this down.
He's his rank.
Once
Me
you
too,
guys
I'm
figure
taking
out something like the hand gesture, I'll just let you run with it.
Okay.
So you're probably right about. It seems like you're right about Sakak being a description of their race or nation or
Right.
something along those lines. But you're a little more puzzled. So you've got, and then he gestures at all of you, and he says, he sort of points at you and repeats your names. Then he gestures as though to encompass all of you and holds the palms out again.
Well, see, this is kind of tough because we're all different races and things. So
Why don't
And
we
you should
say
go about-
Earthlings?
Earthlings.
Okay.
Earthlings, yeah, okay.
While this is going on, I want to start tinkering in the background. Can I use my MacGyver skill to see about putting together some sort of a basic translator?
You can do one better on that, actually. Because you are a technomage, you have the ability, which is a good thing to remember, to whip up a gadget that can produce any power that you're capable of operating.
Any power?
Yeah, like spells.
Oh,
One of which
Egads. That's right. Is there a language
one
spell?
of which is speak language.
Ooh.
Nice.
wow.
So using
How
your arcane
useful.
machinist ability, you need to make a weird science roll.
Okay.
Can I assist that in any way?
Absolutely not, but you don't need to.
Nice.
So you grab some stuff for your vehicle, and in a matter of about 30 seconds, you've whipped together this glowing box.
Wow.
and
I call it Siri.
and which you can then fire up, and it should give you the ability to speak, read, and write a language.
Nice.
If you care to expend, let's see, how many PowerPoints do you have?
Right by the rift, though.
Well, I had 15. I think I put one into the magic goggles,
Yes, you did.
so I
So
think I got 14.
So you can actually extend this ability. If everybody clusters around, you can extend it to everyone in the group. For 10 minutes.
How many
Well,
points?
let's do that.
Actually, this thing has 7 points on its own, and this would use it up. So you've only got 10 minutes to communicate, but you would have 10 minutes to communicate.
All right.
Okay.
Hey guys, I think I got something here. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Swing. Kuva, go through your process again. Introduce. I want to see if this works. If this works, we may be able to talk.
Okay, have you activated it when you're saying that?
Yes.
And the guy says, "You speak our tongue. How is this? Why did you not do so earlier?"
Explain.
That's a long
This is a tool to help us speak your language. We only have 10 minutes.
The guy standing next to him says, so you say for a very short amount of time. How short amount of time? And the guy next to him simultaneously says, "Do you sell them?"
No, he just made one, I'm afraid, but it's helping us so we can understand one another.
Unfortunately, you need somebody with my particular talents in order to use it.
These talents are most strange, as is the man with the flaming, the creature with the flaming hand.
Okay, we'd like to know where you're from, what your intention is here, and if we can be of help.
And most of all, we mean you no harm.
Oh, right.
We are an exploration force from Carasto, and this portal opened on our world 10 days ago. We determined that we should explore what it lies on the other side, and see if there's the opportunity for trade. Says the guy next to him.
Well,
I like him. He's my kind of guy.
You came heavily armed for traders.
If you were going through a portal to a completely unidentified location, would you not carry all of your weapons? It seems like you are quite well equipped as well.
Well, this place can be a little bit dangerous. Scott, here's a question about rifts. Now that they're through the rift and over here, is there any going back to them?
As long as the rift stays open, yes.
Okay.
Do you have any control over the rift?
Do they have any control of the rift? We do not know how this portal opened. It is not a phenomenon we have ever seen before in our world.
And you risked your lives coming through it?
This is why we were so interested in explore it.
All right.
Do you not have explorers on your world who have risked their lives to discover new things?
Oh, absolutely. We take a quick minute and explain about rifts and how they're not necessarily going to stick around forever.
Yeah.
This is obviously a concern. However, if these things can open and close at random, this is important information. Also, he gestures to a couple of his guys and says, "Report back and inform the command that this portal may not remain open indefinitely, and request further instructions." So the two guys run over and jump through the rift, and there's a long delay.
Well, if we've only got 10 minutes, let's keep talking.
Yeah. So he says, "You said this place is dangerous. Are there threats about? Are we in immediate danger?"
No, we're not. We're on control, though.
Yeah, not immediate danger.
You've come here at a time of great social and political instability.
I see. This seems a dangerous place if that is the case, and certainly the level of armament that you're carrying shows a level of concern. I'm curious, though, how did you create this device so quickly? It does not appear to be any sort of computation engine.
It's magic.
I was going to say, at this point in time, I go a little bit off the rails and talk about how I can actually see the magic inherent in the machines and how devices tend to sing to me, and I can talk to them, and I put things together, and it is my particular talent.
Says this is most mysterious. If I'd not seen it with my own eyes, I would have thought you some sort of charlatan. But is that how the man, or creature there has the flaming fist?
We all have our unique abilities.
I'm not a creature.
I apologize. I'm not sure how to refer to you. We do not have multiple species as you appear to be on our world. Are you naturally made of giant reflective metal? Or is there a creature within that as well?
I say, no, this is a suit of armor that I'm wearing.
A most impressive suit of armor. Hamilton says, I'm naturally made of shiny metal.
Oh boy. Do we have any interest in going through the portal to see where they're from?
You could. You do run the risk of it closing behind you, though.
That's right.
And then it becomes a whole new story.
The other thing we could do is we could offer to lead these guys to Bobstown and sort of tell them about it and see if there's another techno wizard that can help them translate.
There might be trading opportunities in Bobstown.
There might be trading opportunities in Bobstown. There definitely aren't any techno wizards in Bobstown, but there are several techno wizards at Castle Refuge.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if that's something they're interested in, but how... I mean, if the portal closes, how do we get them back? What's the point of trading if you're stuck here forever?
I would like Quinlan to make an occult roll.
Occult, okay.
All right. So from what you know about rifts, they do close, but they don't generally close quickly. They're not totally predictable, but generally when a rift opens, it tends to stay open for a while.
Hours, days.
There's clearly something unusual about this rift anyway, because they're saying it opened 10 days ago, but you only just sensed it opening.
Right.
As in like an hour ago?
Right.
Well, however long it took us to get 5 miles at about 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, not even.
Okay.
Like a half hour ago at most.
Okay, so we should probably talk to them about that weird sense of time dilation and see if they got any sense of things slowing down for them or speeding up for them and vice versa.
This is most curious. Our scientists have theorized the possibility of parallel universes that might operate at different rates of time. Perhaps that accounts for the time displacement here.
Oh, boy.
It's just straight up honest talk going on here, right? We don't hear any talk from any of the side soldiers about maybe wiping us out or going to explore.
They're completely silent.
Okay.
Until the two guys come back out and say, command requests that you determine local political leadership.
Take us to your leader.
So just for clarity, your local political leadership is the council at the Tomorrow Legion. So if that's where you actually want to take them, that's an option. Another option would be to take them to Bobstown and introduce them to Mayor Bob.
Don't we have comms? Could we maybe talk to our leadership on some sort of comm?
Rift's comms are strictly short range. That's why they have to send you guys out to villages instead of just radioing them.
Okay.
One of the side effects of the rifts was that the ionosphere got all screwed up. So radio communication is fairly short range at this point.
How close would we have to be to get in touch with someone of higher authority?
Even with your vehicle, it'd take you at least a day to get to radio range of the castle. However, no, the castle isn't unfortunately on a ley line, so Quinlan's ability to talk along ley lines isn't going to be helpful unless he gets really lucky.
It is Savage Rifts.
I'll leave it to you higher ups to decide what to do. I'll just stay back making my fires.
Now, I think the way that they've been interacting with us, it feels like they're most interested in trade, like trading for economics and for technology. Is that kind of?
They certainly expressed an interest in trade
right.
When they sent somebody back through the portal to ask about what their mission should be. That's when they came back out and asked about the political leadership.
Okay.
Well, it was after we told them that things were crazy nutty cuckoo here.
That was after that, yes. Which, to be fair, they are.
Okay. And we trust that they're peaceful and all kinds of good stuff. Let's have a quick yeah.
Are there still more of us than there are of them?
Actually, there's more of them than there are of you, but you have a glitter boy.
We have a glitter boy.
Says, I would propose that I and one of my guards accompany to your local leadership, if this is amenable. I understand that there is some risk of this portal closing. However, I believe that there is too much value in making peaceful contact between our races to allow this risk to deter us.
So may I ask what exactly your intentions are, other than simply to establish concept?
Our goal is to establish relations. The remainder of my expeditionary force will remain here on this side of the portal, and will retreat through it only if it appears to be closing. Otherwise, they'll maintain a line of communications back to the homeworld. If we can establish peaceful relations and a trade agreement, then perhaps we will establish a more permanent enclave here.
And where exactly are you from? What planet are you from? What are your people called?
We are known as Shtok'tha.
Okay. Have we heard of this at all? I mean, if we ask them what constellation are you guys from? What solar system?
You could make a common knowledge roll to see if you ever heard of these guys before.
I'll go ahead and do one too.
That seems like a good idea.
I don't know a thing.
No, your wild does a 4. To the best of your knowledge, you've never heard of these guys before.
Okay.
And if you ask them what solar system they're from,
it's not going to help.
Yeah, let's try.
They kind of shrug, and he says, perhaps when I can see our night sky, I may be able to provide more information about our proximity to you in the greater galaxy. Okay. However, as we discussed last time, it's possible that we are from an entirely different universe, as there seems to be some fluctuation in the relative rates of time.
That's correct. I guess part of our mission probably is to, find strangers and do the right thing, and we should probably bring them back to the leadership. I think that makes sense. What do you guys think?
I'm going to buddy up to, who is it, Quinlan, who has the rift knowledge, and I'm going to rub elbows with him and be like, what do you know of these rift creatures and rifts in general? Should we trust these beings?
Yeah, I mean, I think their intentions seem authentic, and I figure if we bring them over there to someone else with more authority, if things don't go well, at least we'll outnumber them.
Have that kind of knowledge, Scott, of experience with rifts?
You don't really know what to make of these guys. Your experience with rifts is that just about anything can come out of them.
And he doesn't appear to be like a specialist, or at least he is a specialist, a wizard of rifts.
He's a ley line walker. The only type of wizard who might know more about rifts is a shifter, and they're considered often not to be trusted, as they tend to do things like open portals to hell and consort with demons and things. So not usually somebody you want to hang out with. Aside from them, ley line walkers are generally considered to have the most knowledge of ley lines and by extension of wrist.
I nod and currents and take his judgment on the matter.
Okay, and we don't see them as being a risk to, the local populace, as far as we can tell.
They don't obviously seem to be.
Okay, all right. How long is the journey back?
Well, if you follow your mission, you should go through the last town on the way back, which is Cold Bluff. So about a day and a half, about half a day to get from here to Cold Bluff, and then another day or so to get from Cold Bluff back to Castle Red.
All right. So I'm going to turn to the leader. That's fine. We will take you to our local leaders. The journey is about a day and a half, and we will pass through a town in which we have some business. Is that acceptable?
Very well. I understand your device has a limited duration. I will do my best to establish an understanding of your language as we travel. I do have some facility with languages on my home world. Perhaps this will prove useful in learning yours.
Okay, then. And in the meantime, we just have our magic translator machine.
Well, the magic translator machine is a short-term device. It's only good for about 10 minutes, and you've used most of it at this point.
Okay.
You can make another one tomorrow, but that's it for today.
Okay. So, and he understands that. So we're going to...
Yes.
What time of the day is it? Is it evening? Should we camp out, or should we start walking?
It is morning, and you don't actually have to walk, although you may need someone to either ride on Leviticus or ride on Griff with Kuva, as the ATV doesn't have enough seats for everyone.
Yeah, I was thinking we've got all these extra people all of a sudden.
Right. But Lance will volunteer to ride with Kuva if that's okay with him. That'll free up the space.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay. So off we go.
So you guys head out. And
Okay, yeah.
you travel over the hills through the thickets. The Shrak, the leader, seems quite fascinated by it all. His bodyguard is quite impassive.
Mhm.
They do take their helmets off, and they reveal somewhat lizard-like faces, but with protuberant eyes that can independently train in various directions.
Oh, nice.
Like chameleons.
For lots of lizards, right?
It
Well,
is
yeah.
it is pretty lizardy, yeah.
That's the strangest thing
Okay.
we've seen.
So we walk and walk and walk until
Well, drive and
since-
drive and or
Right.
fly.
Fly.
The only one walking is
Travel.
the only one walking is Leviticus. The rest of you are riding either in the Big Boss or in the case of Hamilton on Leviticus, and in the case of Kuva and Lance on Griff. And after a bit, you arrive at Cold Bluffs, which is actually the largest of the 3 towns that you have encountered yet. This one seems like a decent sized community. It's got a few streets versus the one street of Bobstown. And as you arrive, you see that a lot of people seem to be in the streets, and there are ropes strung across the streets with small banners or flags hanging from them.
All right. Let's walk up to a townsperson and say, excuse me, what's happening here today?
So as you approach, a couple of the townsfolk do walk carrying laser pistols, and they immediately holster them and come up and say, "You must be from the Tomorrow Legion."
Why, yes, we are.
Oh, you've come just in time for the Bluffs Festival.
Okay, what is that?
Well, once a year we celebrate the founding of the town, and we have a festival. We have a variety of competitions and events. There's lots of food. You're more than welcome. You kind of picked the perfect day to arrive.
Alrighty then.
They look over the Strock, the leader, and kind of give him the once over. But people around here are so used to weird alien creatures that they don't bat an eye at him any more than they bat an eye at Click.
Okay, I guess the more the merrier so far.
So you join in, and it seems to be a pretty good party. The locals invite you to participate in any of the contests, or you can just chat with them. They have some homebrew moonshine type whiskey, as well as some cider that they brewed from the local apples available. They have 5 different contests going right now. There's a wrestling competition. There is a karaoke competition.
Oh boy.
They're over
Where's
in
Leviticus?
one side. Some of them are doing marksmanship against hay bale targets with their laser weapons. There's a group that's setting up kind of a steeplechase, but not with mounts, but for people to actually run. And apparently there's going to be a riddle contest later. So starting with Click, would you like to participate in any of these activities?
Did I hear karaoke?
You did.
Oh, I'm still there.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay.
All right. So this is going to be a dramatic task using the performance skill, which you don't have.
Excellent.
I
Sounds like a
lunatic.
real karaoke. Yeah.
So I would like you to go ahead and start making performance rolls, which would be, in your case, unskilled rolls. First, let's see how you do in the first round of the competition.
All right.
Actually do pretty well. You find your feet. You do a pretty good job with that first round.
Oh, baby, you got what I need.
Oh boy.
You say he's just a wizard. You say he's just a wizard.
I'm just gonna keep walking.
Everybody join in.
Okay, so that's the first round of the dramatic task. Go ahead and do the second round. Oh, Quinlan, you're jumping in the karaoke too.
Why the hell not?
All right, you're not. You don't
Oh,
do so well in
boy.
the first round.
No.
This task
So
sounds
you're
like it's
cut?
not that dramatic.
Dramatically absurd.
All right, so round 2, I'd like rolls from each of you again. Okay, neither of you does really well in the second round. You're kind of losing your tune. The townsfolk are holding their hands over their ears. It's pretty grim.
Well, it's like the Danes say, filthy geets have got no rhythm, right?
And round 3,
Oh boy.
you get your rhythm back in round 3. You're doing well.
We are the champion, my friend.
Oh boy.
So neither of you win, but Click does manage to place 5th, and received a small hogshead of cider as a reward. Okay, Kuva.
Way to go.
So there's a marksman.
There is a marksmanship competition, yes.
All right, what kind of competition is it?
I guess I ought to enter that.
It is a shooting competition.
Okay. I wouldn't suppose I'd be able to shoot my flames from my finger guns. Can I do that?
Pew pew.
You absolutely can use your flame burst.
Fantastic.
They actually are the flame bolt, I should say. They're very excited about seeing what that does to a hay bale.
Wonderful.
That might be the dramatic acting part or the dramatic performance part.
Yeah. I'm gonna savor it.
So Lance, there's the other competitions. If you're interested, there's a wrestling tournament. There is a steeplechase racing tournament, not mounted, but people jumping over fences and the like. And there is a riddle contest.
Oh boy.
You can participate in more than one, but you're going to jump into the shooting here?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so I'd like a shooting and or a psionics roll appropriate from you guys.
All right, psionics. Ooh, hot dog.
Yeah.
I'm really showing up.
Wow.
I'm giving it my all.
Nice.
So Lance neatly drills a laser bolt through the target, and then Kuva steps up and just vaporizes the target with his flame bolt.
Show off.
Oh yeah.
There's some applause from the people. You're very happy because it set the adjacent 3 hay bales on fire.
I bow.
All right, round 2 of the competition.
Again.
So, not to be outdone, Lance steps up and rapid fires his rifle through the center of all 5 targets. And then Kuva steps up and explodes the 3 in the middle again with his flame bolt.
Okay.
Love it.
All right, round 3.
Oh boy.
You win this time.
Nice.
So Lance repeats his performance, except this time he uses his pistol instead and quick draws and shoots through them all. And then Kuva blows away another one. Then there's a lengthy conference by the judges. They're clearly having a really hard time deciding who won. None of the locals came even close.
Accurate versus awesome.
And
I've got a short time to win. You can be best when I'm gone.
Eventually, they come over and award the prize, which is a large silver cup to Lance, and they award a bronze medal to Kuva, as you guys came in first and second.
No gold out here, I guess.
All right, Lady Mimby, would you like to participate in any of these?
Yeah, I guess I'm actually wondering about the wrestling.
You absolutely could jump into the wrestling tournament.
All right.
So let's have a fighting roll, please. All right, you do well, but not spectacularly against your first opponent, but you eventually manage to pin him.
Okay.
Round 2. So the second round, the guy walks up, goes to grapple you, and you just very contemptuously twist his wrist, flip him through the air, and send him slamming into the ground.
Oh, nice.
There's sort of a ooh from the crowd.
Okay.
And round 3.
Get the chair.
The chair.
And you dispatch the last opponent with ease in the championship round, and you take the victory, which in your case is a small silver hat.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Nice hat.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Quinlan, or actually everyone. Next up is the steeplechase racing. Is anyone going to?
Is it even fair if I do that?
Yeah. Is it fair if I do that? Because I've got.
They sort of converse and they say, well, you're probably right. It's not really fair because you have enhanced speed in both cases. It'd be a bit like having the gooder boy over there run it in his suit. So if you'd like to run an exhibition against each other, you're more than welcome to.
Ooh, you want to race?
Are we trying to entertain the locals here? Is that what's going on?
Sure.
There's a festival,
Yeah.
so you don't have to entertain them, but if you want to do that, it certainly would build some goodwill.
Oh, okay. What's the Stratha? Is it Stratha?
He's sampling the local moonshine and the
okay.
cider.
Great.
And,
We like
he
him.
seems enthusiastic about the cider. Like this might be something that has some prospects for trade in his homeworld, but his English is still very, very limited. So
This drink,
Okay.
I like it. Another.
it's not even that much. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I'd like to try the riddle contest. Don't you think we should try the riddle
I'm
contest?
kind of curious,
With
honestly.
the enhanced speed thing? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yawn at both events, and then walk over to my fiery hay bales and start burning it even further. Start a nice bonfire.
A couple little kids come over with some sort of a pastry on a stick, and they're toasting it on your fires.
I'm
Aw,
entertained by that. I make little fire creatures to entertain the children while they do that.
That's kind of
That'd be
creepy
cool.
and endearing at the same time.
All right, so the riddle question, the riddle contest. There's this old wizened man who comes out. He looks like he's about 900 years old, although he's a human, so that's probably not the case. And he starts tossing out riddles. So for this one, you can either use academics or you can use common knowledge,
Okay.
which I don't know that any of you actually
Do we just
have.
roll, or are you actually going to give us a riddle?
No, we're going to roll for the first couple, but the
Okay.
championship round, I am going to give you a riddle.
Ooh. Okay.
I'll give it a try.
Okay.
Okay.
So y'all do pretty well in the first round. He's kind of throwing out some old chestnuts,
Okay.
a chest without hinges, lock or lid, but inside golden treasure is hid. All the classics. So yeah, you're on top of this. You're all doing pretty well. Round 2.
Oh, I think I know.
So you're still doing pretty well. Lady Mimby is jumping out a little bit ahead. She's just like lightning this round.
I hold in my hand. It's nothing. You're right.
What does it have in its pockets? Is
Oh boy.
so you're all rocking this, and you go to round 3.
Ooh.
That was harsh.
And,
I thought you were giving us a riddle.
I am for the last,
An actual
but after
riddle.
round 3. So Click comes
I
through.
see.
He's definitely coming out ahead. That quick Trimidor mind is coming up with answers really quickly, and so
Okay.
he and one of the villagers are the last people standing here. And the old man looks thoughtful for a minute. And he says, "This is a riddle I learned from my great grandfather, who came from Tolkien.
Oh boy.
I leave my face behind to bind darkness. One of 3 that mark my master the wisest. I am round with 6 points. I will allow you to make common knowledge rolls or academics rolls to see if that rings any bells."
Yes, I'll use a lifeline.
I was going to say Quinlan and I are out, so.
All right.
Ooh.
There are 2 things that spring into your mind as you think about this. The first is that you remember reading an ancient human religious text that described a great wizard, but you're having difficulty placing his name. The other thing that pops into your mind, and you're not quite sure why, is the message that you found on the body of one of the Federation of Magic wizards that talked about identifying that they should inform their leadership if they found any sign of the seal.
Oh.
Any thoughts from anyone?
So you leave your face behind to seal the darkness?
Yes.
To bind the darkness.
To bind
To
darkness.
bind the darkness.
Yes.
A circle with 6 points. And the clues are a brilliant wizard.
That you read about in an ancient religious text, and something about a seal.
Right.
Solomon? Like a seal kind of thing? Seal of Solomon, 6-point star, anything like that?
I mean, that's all I've got was the Star of David.
Yeah, same.
Do you want to toss that out?
Anybody have a better guess?
I don't.
Still playing with fire. I can't even hear you guys.
Yeah, let's take a guess.
Okay. So you toss that out, and the old man beams
and says, "You are indeed wise."
Oh boy.
And he hands over a book, an ancient tome. You can barely make out the text on the front, but it appears to read "Dad Jokes."
Oh my.
Oh.
I will
love
treasure
that.
this always.
I started copying one for my own personal collection.
I will be reading these while driving the car.
As your
from
travel
now on.
companion, I shake my head in dismay.
The old man, says, there were always rumors that in the treasure houses of Tolkien, the true seal of Solomon was to be found. But with its fall, who knows what has become of the treasures? Many that people there turned to darkness at the end. And while I do not know what power such a seal might have, but I fear what it could do in the wrong hands.
Well, that's cheery.
That's not ominous at all.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good to know.
So the remainder of your time in Cold Bluff is uneventful, and you're able to head back out to the Tomorrow Legion.
Okay.
After roughly a day's travel, you roll up to Castle Refuge. The Strachtha leader is suitably impressed by the castle, and you are able to hand him off to some people who have the speak language ability intrinsically, as well as some telepaths. So they immediately start opening up conversations with him. And you're ordered to report to El of Elves.
Okay, let's go.
So what information from your adventures thus far are you going to pass along to her?
I think the most important one is that there's a new rift. What else?
It was a waste of my life remaining on this earth.
What? Wow.
You're boundless
a bit of an
optimism.
overshare.
I'm sorry that Lance, that you found the initial process not to your liking. I understand that you have some special interest in the coalition. Perhaps you could be reassigned to one of the long-range patrols leading into coalition territory.
If I get to kill skullheads, I'm in.
That is not always the preferred method of resolution, but I think it is likely that you'd have plenty of targets if you moved over to that mission.
Sign me up.
As for the rest of you, what intelligence did you find on Federation of Magic movements in the area? And what of this small robot that has accompanied you back? Yeah, I'm Hamilton. How's it going? You're like a big owl. Yes, I suppose I am.
Charming. Should we also tell her about the about Professor Wickham? Like, would that be? I think we should, because that was wolves, right? Some werewolf vampire activity.
Yep. Vampire activity this far north is troubling, but we have seen pockets of them here and there. We will have to remain vigilant. Yeah. Hey, Owl Lady, my name is Elle of Owls. Yeah. Okay. Elle of Owls. You haven't happened to see a guy named Roblon, have you? Or maybe a couple other robots named Dyson and Moto? They haven't, come in with any of these other guys or anything? I'm afraid I have not encountered any of your friends. That's a shame. Well, this seems like the kind of place I should hang out until I find them. So, I mean, you guys have a kitchen, right? I could get some work there. I'm sure I could be helpful. He quickly demonstrates his ability to toast bread and sort of bemused and sort of looks at him and says, yes, I suppose you could be useful, and has her secretary take him down to the kitchens. Now then, the Federation of Magic. Did you encounter any of their forces on your journey?
What were those robots that were chasing Hamilton?
The demonic cyborgs were most likely Federation of Magic troops.
Okay, so we should report that. Including
the note?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I suppose, for completeness.
Intriguing. We have seen additional movement of the Federation into the northeast territories that we hold of late. Do you have any idea what they might be referring to when they talk of the seal?
Well, I guess we entered a riddle contest in Bobstown, and there was a reference to a seal. There was a riddle which referred to a seal. And so we think it might have something to do with the Star of David.
Seal of Solomon. Once again, Tolkien comes back to haunt us. I believe further investigation into that region is warranted, but If you encounter demonics, we will have to see about reinforcements. There is a gentleman who recently arrived at the castle who escaped the fall of Tolkien. I believe he might be of use to you, although I must say he is not the most comfortable of personality. I will arrange for him to meet with you and be attached to your group provisionally. But for now, I believe that Alpha 1-2 has been quite successful in your initial mission. You've acquired transport, I understand, that will make it easier to patrol longer distances into the northeast and attempt to determine what the Federation is up to.
Yes.
Well done.
It will. Thank you.
I believe we might have a surplus vehicular weapon or two that we could potentially equip your vehicle with, just to give you a little bit more defense.
Ooh, I get to play with toys.
Nice.
Yes, that would be much appreciated. Did you just say that out loud?
Yes.
This is not surprising to her at all.
Okay.
Okay, so...
Have I mentioned that I have verbal diarrhea?
I believe you have.
No, but you've demonstrated it.
I talk a lot.
That's
You guys
putting
are
it
cool.
loosely.
I like being here.
Mm.
He's funny. I like him.
So she runs you down to the HQ, and this is how this is going to work as far as vehicles go. You have what are called 3 mod slots on your vehicle. So these are things you can add on in the weaponry vein, but you can't add on more than 3. So what they have to offer, they have a light railgun.
Okay.
And they have a Techno Wizard fireball launcher.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
I am a big fan of guns we don't have to reload.
No, I mean, that's absolutely the most practical consideration.
All right, so you now have a fireball launcher on your Big Boss ATV. And that is where we will leave it for tonight.
The Rift setting, the Megaverse, and associated characters and locations are the property of Palladium Books. Savage Worlds is the property of Pinnacle Entertainment. All other content is the property of Happy Monster Press. Find us at www.happymonsterpress.com or as Happy Monster Press on Twitter, Facebook, MeWe, and Pashpost. Theme music, Jason Shaw's Ice Cold.
Oh, for sure.